What if I told you that the most confusing archetype in all of basketball is a player that was supposed to be one thing, but ended up as another? In the NCAA, we see many guys, specifically bigs, that are undersized for their position, but dominate the college landscape. A lot of them cap out as college legends, but a select few actually find a role inside the NBA. Some of them are too talented to pass on, despite their misidentity compared to the rest of the league. Tweeners in the NBA are forwards that cosplay as bigs due to either their limited skill set or size. They seem valuable on paper, but can bring challenges to a coaching staff unsure of how to utilize them. Even though this style of big can be tricky to manage, I want to show both the successful side and the downside they can face in the modern NBA, and also look at one highly ranked college star that may be on his way down this road. There's not a lot of them left today, so let's take a look at how tweeners are being used now and how some of these hybrids can be productive. Although these players are being flushed out of today's game, in the past, there were several across every team in the league. But the big difference between these players today and the old days is the style of basketball that was played then versus now. Back in the day, tweeners had a much better platform to showcase their skill set because offenses were ran through the bigs. Their job was straightforward: be physical and play in the post. And defensively, they weren't asked to do anything complex. Teams rarely switched back then, so tweeners weren't called on to do as much in that aspect of the game. The best example of this is one of the greatest power forwards of all time, 6'6" Charles Barkley. Chuck, who in reality was closer to 6'4", had a very unique skill set given his size when you compare him to players today. He shot under 2 threes a game over the course of his 16-year career, and contrasted that with the most simplistic yet dominant game of his era. Being undersized at the forward position, Barkley needed to be strong and physical in one of the roughest times of the sport. His post game was very direct. It was little finesse to it, but a lot of bully ball. The approach was to continue backing down defenders until he had good enough position for the layup. This style of play worked so well because of how slow the game of basketball was during this time. Coaches encouraged post entries and ISO type looks with bigs back to the basket. But the one skill that was definitive in Barkley's game was his rebounding. He is to this day the shortest player in NBA history to lead the league in rebounds, averaging 14.6 per game during the 1986-87 season. Bill Walton praised him by saying, "There is nobody who does what Barkley does." Quite the compliment for a player who had what some called it a limited skill set. Chuck is without a doubt the greatest anomaly in basketball history, as he dominated players nearly a foot taller than him. Another anomaly during that same era was Dennis Rodman. Rodman, who handled all the dirty work for Michael Jordan's Bulls and the Bad Boy Pistons, gained a reputation of the best defender in the league, all while playing power forward at 6'7" and just over 200 pounds. He's the second smallest player in the top 25 all-time rebounders list, and used his IQ to grab boards on his way to 7 straight rebounding titles. His former teammate Isaiah Thomas said that Rodman took rebounding to a totally different level. During warm-ups, he would stand back and watch everybody shoot. Thomas would say, "Hey, come on, you have to participate. Everybody's shooting layups. You have to shoot layups too." And he said, "I'm just watching the rotations on the basketball." He knew the rotation of every person that shot on his Detroit team. If it spins sideways, where it would bounce, how often it would bounce left or right. He had rebounding down to a science, and it was unheard of from anyone to think or talk about rebounding and defense the way Dennis could break it down. His peers expressed how elite and underrated his IQ was. No one really acknowledged the art and tactics of his rebounding style during his 14-year career. And defensively, Rodman was one of the few power forwards at the time that transformed his game to defend every type of player. Early in his career with the Pistons, he was extremely mobile and defended primarily perimeter players. Then later in Chicago, he was super strong and mainly defended bigs. He was a rare power forward that was good at switching back and forth between strong bigs and agile perimeter players. His half-court offense was pretty much non-existent, but he was able to stick around in the NBA strictly off his elite-level defense and rebounding. He went on to make 8 all-defensive teams and win Defensive Player of the Year twice, all while being a tweener during that era. Or if we want to take it all the way back, there was Dave DeBusschere, the 6'6" Hall of Famer from the 60s and 70s who made a career off of his rugged playstyle despite being undersized. DeBusschere, a former White Sox prospect, really took off once he joined the Knicks, as he became the imposer and do what was needed guy on a team looking for his last piece of their championship puzzle. With no three-point line, everyone knows the type of basketball that was played offensively at that time, but Dave was able to stretch the floor and make his impact in other ways than just scoring points. He was a terrific outside shooter, with some saying his strong arm from his pitching background being a factor, and made shots that would have been threes had there been a line at the time. DeBusschere's ability to stretch the floor gave the Knicks the flexibility of putting Hall of Famer Willis Reed back to center, which was his normal position. He had perimeter skills as a power forward since he was undersized, but paired that with his elite level of defending and rebounding. Even at 6'6", he was the best matchup for some of the best players in the league at the time, bigs like Jerry Lucas, Bob Boozer, and Billy Cunningham. He was known as one of the most tenacious players at that time, and truly was a blueprint for some of the current hybrid forwards we have now. We can also look at more modern times in the NBA, with Shawn Marion during his stint with the Suns. Mike D'Antoni's entire 7-second offense was built around the versatility from Marion. With him sliding down to the 4, it pushed Amari Stoudemire to the 5, giving him one of the most athletic front courts in the league. This position change impacted the rest of his career and started a new trend for coaches, playing small with guys that were versatile enough to guard 1 through 5. And offensively, he was the hub. With his skill set as a passer and being able to play off the ball with Steve Nash was very important in his system. Marion was literally given the nickname The Matrix because of his unique versatility and new identity as a small ball power forward. Then there was Chuck Hayes, one of the shortest centers ever at 6'6". Hayes was a career role player, but a great example of a tweener and one that played even further down the lineup at center. He had zero value offensively, but was able to turn an impossible situation into an 11-year career because of his excellent low-post defense. He wasn't a shot blocker, but was stout enough to not give up position on the block and keep guys in front. You guys are probably starting to see the trend. Tweeners in the past stayed in the league mainly because of their defense, even if there was some type of limitations on the other side of the floor. But now let's look at when time shifted, and tweeners began to adapt to the ever-changing NBA. Jared Dudley produced a 14-year career with his new style of forwards, stretching the floor, all while being limited athletically and matchup-wise defensively. He wasn't a flashy player, and wasn't able to play in certain situations. An example of that is he was often handicapped in lineups as a small forward because of his negative on-the-ball skills, so they threw him at power forward because he was almost 240 pounds, which was heavy for the position during the modern era. However, as Dudley got older, his value as a tweener got worse. He already wasn't athletic, and aging didn't help his case. But today, to be considered a tweener can oftentimes be a negative. Unlike the past, these players usually lack an identity and can't be used due to a lack of consistent skill set. And the NBA is a very forward-dependent league, with a large amount of the top players playing at the 3 and the 4. So having someone who falls in that middle ground is usually a negative. Fours are also called to do a lot of things in today's game, like switching defensively and creating on the ball, which I'll talk about a little later. Most teams fail to use these players effectively, as it takes a unique environment to be able to turn this archetype into good. But there are teams and players that can use this tweener label to their advantage, like Zion Williamson, Draymond Green, Grant Williams, PJ Tucker, and strangely, Josh Hart, which sounds weird, but I'll explain why he fits in this group. Zion is a clear outlier of these 4 tweeners because of his all-time great athleticism. This has kept him at the top of the NBA when healthy, despite only being 6'6" and 280 pounds. He doesn't have the off-ball shooting to consistently play at small forward, but ironically performs very well as a point guard for certain stretches of a game. Everyone has seen this all-world athleticism from Zion. It's his calling card, and helps justify using the first overall pick and paying almost $40 million a year on him. And New Orleans has slowly designed their entire offense around Zion, with inverted pick and rolls, open downhill driving lanes, and a heavy amount of post touches. Look at all the different looks Zion gets throughout games: isolations near the nail, sealing in the post, and running the floor. But not every tweener can be used like this, as he's a complete outlier due to his strength, handle, and all-world athleticism. It makes his God-given abilities, considering his body, that much more impressive. Another tweener who's effective in the complete opposite way of Zion is one of the best power forwards of all time, Draymond Green. At age 35, Draymond is still playing at a high level and contributes to winning basketball, despite years of sub-double-digit scoring numbers. Green is one of my favorite players to watch. He's closer to 6'5" and plays a 4 in small ball 5, but his 7'1" wingspan is the one thing that separates him above players of his body type. One of the highest IQs in all of sports, and basically a point guard in a forward's body. The engine of the Steve Kerr offense is a true hub on both sides of the ball. He initiates the offense with dribble handoffs, backdoor passes, screening, and just general playmaking traits that only the best of the best point guards have, with Nikola Jokic in that tier as well. Like I said, he oftentimes looks like a point guard feeding the ball. Look here, he reads the slip off the switch and hits Wiggins on the back door. But he does stick to his power forward roots as a screener, and is elite out of the short roll. Watch out the DHO, he rolls and feels a low man help and drops off the lob for the bucket. These simple nuances within the game is what makes him great. And defensively, he's been the best defender against some of the best offensive players of this generation. In today's NBA, bigs are asked to do a lot more now on defense than they were 20 plus years ago. They're asked to switch, protect the rim, communicate with their teammates on the back line, and command the entire floor. This is the area where tweeners struggle, and eventually fizzle out since they aren't usually versatile against different builds. But Draymond flourishes in every single environment. As 6'6" and arguably the greatest defender of this generation, his most guarded players last season included bigs like Nikola Jokic, Rudy Gobert, and Alperen Şengün. Then even perimeter guys like LeBron James, Paolo Banchero, Giannis, and Kevin Durant. He has one of the most diverse matchup lists from anyone in the NBA. The true definition of guarding 1 through 5, as he's one of the most switchable defenders of all time. Here he shows off his command of a defense. Watch Drake completely abandon the big he's guarding to help at the rim for the block. Next he's in drop, and plays between both the ball and his man, and is able to guard both for the block. And finally, as a low man, he elevates to stop the drive, and is still able to guard the dump off at the dunker spot. This is the epitome of tweeners, and Steve Kerr has done a perfect job utilizing the skill set of Draymond. Grant Williams is a guy who came into the league trying to model Draymond's success as an undersized big. Williams dominated in college, winning SEC Player of the Year twice, and was a consensus All-American. He was drafted 22 overall, but although being undersized, carved a role for himself on the Celtics. Given his size, Williams' best chance at becoming valuable was pairing his solid defense with a jump shot. But his rookie year, he struggled badly. He missed the first 25 threes of his career, and faced another hurdle on top of his size disadvantage. But the Joe Mazzulla three-point style offense came in 2022, and Williams became one of the best 3-and-D role players out of all the front court players in the league. He shot 40% from 3 for the second straight year, and was able to finally join a small list of active tweeners to be effective. From being the main guy at Tennessee with the ball in his hands nearly every possession, and bullying defenders who couldn't match up with his size, to transforming his game as a smaller player at his position to play off the ball, and be more simplified for a team that thrived on off-the-catch shooting. PJ Tucker is an OG tweener who also made a change to survive in the NBA. Through his first 10 years with the Raptors and Suns, Tucker was strictly a small forward and played on the perimeter. But once he signed with the Rockets in 2017, Mike D'Antoni, who famously moved Shawn Marion to the 4 in Phoenix, did the same thing with PJ Tucker, forever changing his career. D'Antoni often was ahead of the curve in terms of the direction of basketball, and did something in Houston unheard of while trying to push them over the edge. He first started by playing Tucker at the 4, and being the typical 3-and-D role player that every team was looking for. But then, in 2020 he did the unthinkable, using PJ Tucker as their starting center. A 6'5" former small forward starting at center for a championship contending team. The Rockets were a run and gun offense who loved to play small ball to give James Harden as much space as possible to isolate on the perimeter. They previously started Clint Capella, then throughout the game go small, but in their playoff matchups against the Thunder and Lakers, they decided to go all in on one of the smallest front courts of all time. Tucker had the ability to guard centers for extended periods, but doing it full time sacrificed their defense while maximizing the space for James Harden and Russell Westbrook. But D'Antoni backed up his isolation-centric offense with statistics, explaining how one-on-one situations was the most effective way to operate for Houston, as they produced a large amount of threes or looks at the rim. Tucker was their best option at center to fulfill that vision, and although it's somewhat funny looking back at it, it goes to show how far the game has come for a team to be comfortable starting a 6'5" big at center. This switch for PJ created a new role for him for the next 5 seasons, and prolonged a career that might have been cut short. Then the last of the productive bunch is one of the most unique situations for a player in the NBA, Josh Hart. Calling Hart a tweener may be considered controversial, but his role on the Knicks is to do all the dirty work that a big would be responsible for. He was second on the team in rebounds at 9.6 a game last year, and his matchups were all over the place. He logged over 100 possessions against Jason Tatum, Tyrese Maxey, Tyrese Halliburton, but then bigs like Miles Turner and Al Horford. I truly believe Hart's a big man in a guard's body. He's 6'4" but scraps with bigs night in and night out. New York does a great job leveraging his defensive skills in certain matchups. Here he's used as a roamer and is stuck at the nail, but then flows down as a low man to get the steal. His timing is impeccable, and they love to put him on bigs. Watch how he stays attached to Dean Wade, but then tags a roller at the perfect time for the steal. Then finally, he's on Kyrie and gets through both pin downs for the steal and the slam. This just shows the versatility. 3 different players he's guarded, each at different positions and different skill sets, all while being only 6'4". Although he doesn't have much individual on-ball skills and isn't the greatest shooter, he's invaluable to New York because of his switchability and versatility next to Cat and OG Anunoby in the front court. So even though I claim that tweeners are the most confusing archetype in the league, these guys are proof that you can be effective as one of these hybrid players. But there's been plenty of tweeners to barely last in the league after dominating in college, like David Roddy, Kenneth Lofton Jr., and KJ Martin. These 3 represent the long list of guys that either didn't have the skill set or body to compete amongst players at their position. They got away with these holes in college, but there's no place to hide or have a confusing skill set in the NBA, thus struggling to find a role. Lofton is a 6'7", 275-pound power forward who strictly plays with his back to the basket. He's really creative in the post and kind of fun to watch, but teams just don't run that style of offense anymore, and he weighed too much to stay on the floor. David Roddy may be the most egregious tweener in recent memory. He's a 6'4", 255-pound power forward. Despite his size, Roddy is still a pretty solid scorer. He's only at 6 career points per game average, but has some solid moments in Memphis. The guard skills he once possessed in college could not catch up to NBA speed, and being overweight at 6'4" in the front court was nearly impossible to overcome. For KJ Martin, he has a very different skill set from Roddy and Lofton, but still struggled to find a home in the league. Martin's terrific athleticism was the reason he was on the floor, but his poor shooting and handle were the reasons he found himself off of it as well. At 6'6" but only 215 pounds, he had the body of a wing, but really only added value above the rim. Tweeners who don't have elite traits anywhere else are at an extreme disadvantage coming into the league, and these guys, among many more, saw firsthand of how that can happen. But one of the most common types of tweeners are bigs who have the skill set of centers, often because of their roles growing up, but aren't big enough to play in that slot, forcing them out of lineups or even out of the league. Before we look at current ones in today's NBA, we need to look back at who normalized everything for undersized centers, with one of the most unexpected MVPs ever, Wes Unseld. Unseld, who to this day is the most important figure to the Washington Wizards franchise, shut down all the stereotypes fans had about a center who was too small. At only 6'7", Wes used his stocky frame to consistently stay amongst the rebounding leaders and compete on the glass, averaging over 15 rebounds a game over his first 8 seasons. He went to war with legends much taller than him, like Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Nate Thurmond. His impact on the floor went beyond rebounding. He was one of the best screeners in the game, mainly due to how solid his body was built, and a great passer after he secured the boards. Unseld joined Wilt in 1969 as the only 2 players to win both Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same season. The Washington Star pioneered this new generation of undersized bigs, but no one will ever be able to replicate the success and production that he had. Now back to the present. The most notable of these type of players include Precious Achiuwa, Xavier Tillman, Isaiah Stewart, and formerly Montrezl Harrell. Each of these modern guys all play significant minutes throughout their careers, but it doesn't take away the fact that their place in the rotation is often questioned because of their identity as a tweener. They're only able to play on the floor in certain situations, limiting the ceiling of their playing time. What they do have on their side, however, is teams love to run small ball lineups. Putting someone smaller but more agile like these guys can sometimes work to a team's advantage. Having the switchability and option to space the floor is key down the stretch in many matchups. But when playing some of the best true centers in this league, these guys often get abused. Precious Achiuwa is one of the bigger names out of these tweeners. He's a 6'8" center that shoots under 30% from 3. He's been a rotation piece for the Heat, Raptors, and Knicks, and is now on the Kings. The main reason he's bounced around at such a young age is because of the fact that he's an undersized center and lacks the skills on both sides of the floor to keep up with the fast-paced NBA. When you're this small as a center, you already face a disadvantage on the glass, and when you pair that with his poor shooting, he had no value on the floor. This is the same case with Xavier Tillman on the Celtics. He's a slow-footed 6'8" center that has struggled to improve as a shooter for Boston. You can't put him at power forward even though he's 6'8", because he has no creation on the ball and no shooting either. Tillman's calling card is on defense. He's solid in the post, and when asked to switch onto the perimeter, he holds his own at times. But playing in the Joe Mazzulla system, you need to be able to shoot. Otherwise, you'll never see the floor if you aren't elite elsewhere. And the final 2 undersized centers actually carved out a solid career in consistent role, both for the same reasons. Pistons center Isaiah Stewart and former Clippers center Montrezl Harrell each used their elite strength and physicality to add value and impact games when they were on the floor. Both 6'8" and 6'7" respectively, these bigs combat their height by being 2 of the strongest players in the league. But they use their strength in different ways. For Stewart, he uses that strength as a screener and defending the rim. The Pistons have 2 of the best screen setters in the game with him and Jalen Duren, as they were both amongst the top of the league in screen assists per game. For Stewart specifically, his wide body and frame is a cheat code when setting picks, and he pairs that with rolling hard to the rim. He's a great all-around rebounder, but offensively, there's very few in the league that get their body on a defender for positioning better than him. A lot of his points come from either off the glass or just sheer strength when putting a body on someone. Then defensively, Stewart is a terrific rim protector. He may not be good guarding the perimeter, but despite being undersized, just like on offense, his positioning around the rim is great, which gives him the best chance to impact shots at the hoop. Then to add the cherry on top, he's a career 35% three-point shooter, but shoots 39% on 3 attempts per game this season and gives Detroit a different element that Duren doesn't add to the floor. But for Montrezl Harrell, he's out of the league after not being able to adapt his game like Stewart to keep up as a small big. He spent 8 years in the NBA, with his most successful stint being 3 seasons with the Clippers, where he won 6th Man of the Year in 2020. But how is a former 6-man winner and nearly 30 minutes a game player already out of the NBA at just 31 years old? Well, Harrell's game was based around his physicality in the post and facing up. At only 6'7" and being guarded by centers, he was so agile and easily able to get around most bigs off the dribble. Where Montrezl saw his demise happen was because of his inability to shoot and move his feet defensively. He slowly tried to add the mid-range with the Clippers, but that wasn't enough being 6'7" and not able to hit threes. And everyone knows the NBA has moved away from that style of play from bigs, so there was just no spot for him in the league. And defensively, he added no real impact protecting the rim or switching on the perimeter. He had the athleticism, but it was just a feel for the game on that end that was never there. He was honestly an awful defender at times, and not worth the double-digit points he put up, because teams know they can get that from players with better size that can make plays defensively. But tweeners at the center position can survive in the league, and are used pretty frequent, but their window to adapt to the ever-changing NBA is much smaller than the average big, due to extreme limitations to their skill set. So I've shown you both the successful side and the downside of being a tweener, and I have one up-and-coming college star who may face these same type of questions in the next year. Duke forward and top 3 high school player in the nation, Cam Boozer, has been given a generational tag, despite being a potential tweener once he hits the pros. His situation is a little different than the players I've talked about. He's got power forward size at 6'9", but his skill set reminds me a lot of what this confusing archetype looks like. He can play both down low and on the perimeter, but in the post, he's so physically advanced than players his age that he can just play bully ball in those situations and he gets away with it. And on the perimeter, he can shoot and pass with the best of them, but his handle isn't strong enough to consistently create for himself. I'm worried that this may catch up to him in the NBA. Every guy will either be as strong or stronger than him, so that bully style won't fly against most fours, and not being twitchy or creative with the ball on the perimeter against the best athletes in the world will be another hurdle as well. But he's an absolute winner and has the best intangibles out of any prospect I've seen in the past 5+ years. I'm not questioning that generational tag, because I do believe he's worthy of a top 3 pick and the keys handed to as a franchise cornerstone. But these concerns are valid to have right now, and a thing to keep an eye on. So all in all, this goes to show that being a tweener in today's NBA has its cons, but can be turned into a positive with the right player under the right system. These forwards have evolved over time, molding themselves into the direction the NBA is heading. But in the future, many players will continue to fall victim to this label and join a long list of the most confusing archetype in all of basketball.